Hello, chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James, and now it's time for installment number 2 for the Labor Day tournament. First game we're going to be taking a look at is me versus James Huddleston, and James is actually white in this game, so let's go ahead and take a look. He went ahead and played knight f3, and then I played pawn g6. From the past experience we played, he usually plays like this b4 c4 system, and this one he changed it up. As after I played g6, he played e4, and I was very surprised. I was like, oh, cool. It looks like we'll be playing a Sicilian. Well, because I thought he might want me to play Sicilian, I did not play Sicilian. I went ahead and just played this knight f6 idea. He played knight c3, pawn to d5, e5, and then I played this knight to e4 move. And he played pawn d4. Taking on e4, I believe, is just bad. After takes, well, the knight really has no good square to move to. I guess it can go like to g5, but then after like d5 over here, yeah, this position is already equal here for black, if not just better. So, after d4, he just played simple chess and played knight c3. And then I went ahead and attacked the center with pawn c5. Bishop b5, check the best move. Knight c6 and castles here. At this point, we've got to a very interesting position here with actually the computer giving white as being better. I thought my position was pretty good. So, yeah. Knight takes on c3, pawn takes on c3, giving these double pawns. Bishop g7, bishop e3. And now pawn takes and pawn takes. Bishop d7, setting up a little trap here. I could have castled right away, but I had this little idea. And he played queen d2. All right, black to move and win a pawn. Yeah, unfortunately, he just missed this simple move of knight takes on e5. Or maybe he did see it. Either way, even though I win a pawn, I'm not really up a pawn as far as position goes, which I kind of felt in the position, and you'll probably see in the future. He played pawn takes back, bishop takes, and rook to d1. At this point, the position is slightly better for me, but it's not really too sure how I'm supposed to proceed here. Yeah, I went ahead and played bishop back to c6 to defend, which apparently was not best. Apparently, I'm supposed to go for this crazy castles here, and then if queen takes on d5, I just play queen takes, rook takes, and then bishop c6. I did look at this line for a little bit, but I just did not like it, because after this calculation of rook c5, bishop takes f3. Yeah, it doesn't like this line anymore. Apparently, I'm supposed to play rook f to c8 here. And, well, I only calculated bishop takes f3 from those moves ago. So, yeah, this is a little too far in depth for me. With that being said, back to the main line. I just played the bishop back to c6. And here, although I'm up a pawn, well, he has really good controls over the dark squares. And it's really hard for me to move forward in any kind of capacity. He played rook b1, castles, pawn h4, and here I was starting to get worried about a kingside attack. Maybe I shouldn't be too worried here. And, well, I went ahead and just played queen c7 here. Funny enough, the computer does give d4 as equality here, as after knight takes, well, bishop takes on e5 here. Here, I had looked at this idea, but I was more worried about, yeah, no, knight takes d4, bishop takes, and then knight takes on c6. And here it's giving black just an equal position here, which is pretty amazing since you're up an extra pawn. But there's so much potential here with white's pieces because they're so well placed. Queen c7, bishop h6, e6, rook b4, and now I got really intimidated by ideas about h5 and rook h4, bishop takes h6, and the queen coming over here. So here I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and take this pawn. So I played bishop takes on e5, giving up the exchange. The idea is that, well, he'll probably take, and then I'll have these really good pawns. I'll be able to push forward. Doug did a very good job this game, and it was very hard for me to expand for quite a while. Unfortunately, he starts making some mistakes toward the end, and, well, this was a very tough game for me in general. I think we went all the way up to move 70, and we went down to a rook and pawn endgame that I wasn't even sure that was winning. I was just, just trying to keep making progress. Knight takes, queen takes, and he played rook e1, a nice little tempo move. I played queen back to d6, and bishop takes on f8. Queen takes on f8. Pawn to h5 right here, queen g7, and rook to b3. Rook to e8. I'm finally getting ready to start pushing my pawn forward. I'm looking to make this bishop a little bit stronger, and this is what I had envisioned whenever I had sacked the exchange. I said, yeah, I'm down the exchange, but these pawns are really good in the center here, and maybe I'll be able to open up my bishop and maybe even get a kingside attack. Here he played pawn h6, which I thought was very good. From now on, this pawn is going to be a thorn in my side because there's going to be a lot of checkmates for the back rank, but also deadly kiss checkmates, or the queen getting to g7. So I played queen f8, rook to b1. As computer goes right now, it's pretty much equal here. And with this rook b1 move, I really did not like this because, well, he's basically saying, you know what, I'm going to give back the exchange, but I'm going to get a very active position. So I went ahead and played rook e7 here, pawn to a4, pawn to e5, trying to stop him from going over here, pawn a5, and I went ahead and played pawn a6. Again, computer's giving this as equal. I did like black from this perspective, but it was still a pretty nerve-wracking game. Giving up the exchange is a very finite idea. Rook b6, queen c8, queen g5, a nice little tricky move here. Rook to e6. Notice you cannot play queen e6 because, well, it's white to move and win. Do you see the idea? Here it would have been rook takes on c6. It doesn't matter how you take back. If you play pawn takes, well, rook check right here, rook e8. Rook takes was not the right move here. You actually have to just go queen f6 here, and that's a beautiful way to get a forced checkmate. Rook e8, of course, if you play rook takes, queen f6, the queen can jump to f8. But even here, it's because of this checkmate threat, it's really hard for us to play this position. So, with that being said, I played the correct way. I played the rook to e6, pawn to f4. I mean, he's just doing a great job here. Pawn f6, I have to kick him out. Queen g3, and pawn takes on f4. Queen takes f4, king f7, queen to b4 here. Again, saying I want to sack the exchange and give it back just so I can get an active position. What I was really worried about was this rook e1 move. But either way, I was able to find the best move here, which was pawn g5. Now I don't have to worry about those back rank checkmates, and my king can come over here and win the pawn at its leisure. And here he just went for it. Rook takes b7. At this point, we were both starting to get low on time. Takes. King g6, rook b6 here. And here I had already calculated this following line. Rook e2, rook takes c2, and rook to d6. At this point, I figured, well, we're probably going to be trading pawns here pretty soon, but I'm going to be able to have these guys versus this pawn over here. Rook c5, pawn a6, rook a5, king f2. The longer I keep the pieces on the board, the better I thought it was going to be. And again, I'm just pushing forward here. Maybe this is a draw, but I thought I could keep playing for a win. King takes h6. Definitely, the computer does not like this. It likes me playing rook a2 check here, but I didn't see how to, a way to make progress here as far as pushing the pawn forward. So I took rook takes, king h5, rook to d6, king g4, rook h6, and again, I saw that this was coming, but the idea is to try and kick the king away from this position. Oops, I kicked that. So king takes h6, rook takes king h5, rook d6, king g4, and rook h6. So again, he's attacking this pawn, but I'm trying to get this pawn push and this pawn push. I saw that I was most likely going to be winning this pawn. Plus, if he takes on h7, I take on a6, and now it's these two pawns versus this one. And that, well, that's exactly what's going to be happening. Rook check, king back. King g3. Of course, I saw rook f3 coming. Check. Rook takes on h7, and rook takes on a2. Rook f5 check. King e5. Rook g7. King f4 check. And now king e3. I'm just trying to make progress over here. Rook check. King d4. Rook g7. And here I saw I can get my rook to a better square. Rook check. And rook f5. The good thing about the rook here is that it's actually cutting the king off from running this way. So now my king will most likely run this way to win the pawn. Pawn g3 got played, king e4, and rook over to a7. For those thinking maybe rook e7 check, I was planning on just playing rook e5, and this gives me a way to try and run over here. Of course, if he tries to block with this, then I get to push this pawn forward. So either way, one of these pawns is being pushed forward. So he played rook a7 right away, pawn to d4, rook to d7, rook a5. I was seeing if he'd allow me to get the rook over here. Of course, he does not, so he checked me. I played the rook back. He played rook d7, and now rook d5. Now that the rook's behind the pawn, it says here it is now a win here since the rook is behind the pawn. Here, the rook has to move away, and now king f5, king over, and king g4. Now I'm going to be winning another pawn over here, and it's really hard for him to do anything, especially by getting the king over here, because my rook can just slide back. And once the rook is behind the pawn, well, my pawn just pushes forward. So this king is not going to be able to stop the pawn, and, well, this pawn is going to beat this rook. So we went over here, and we went over here. Rook g7, king f5. Yeah, I saw that if I took on g3 right away, there was this king e4 idea. So what I want to do is actually push this pawn up a little bit more before that. For instance, if king takes on g3, King e4 gets played. And I had calculated to play this move of d3, but I saw it didn't work because d3, king takes, d2, and unfortunately rook takes g5 check, king f2, rook f5 check, and the king is just not able to get any kind of safety over here. If you try to hide behind the pawn, it doesn't work out too well. King e4 gets played, and the rook will be able to sacrifice. So simple chess. I did not go crazy. I just played king f3, rook back, and now g4. And this was helping me out a lot better by the pawn being a little bit closer. And when he played king e4 here, I just brought the rook back here too. And now I simply just push my b pawn. And the idea is to get the rook behind me, or try to get the rook over here so that the rook can't check me. But I take my time with this. He checked, king g1, g2. Now I can put my rook either to the h file or the f file, either one allowing my king to move away without the rook checking me. Rook to g8, rook f7, and at this point he went ahead and resigned, as if he does try to play the king to e2, I actually have this pawn d3 check here, king takes, and then my king can just go to f2 here. Oof, this was a very long game and definitely one of my most challenging games that I played to win this tournament. All right, now on to the next game. We have Alfredo Garcia versus Andrew Smith. This was a very interesting game that they played over here. Here, Alfredo is playing the white pieces, so e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4 takes, pawn c3. Looks like Alfredo is in a gambiting mood. Looks like, what is this one? The Goring Gambit. If he takes the second pawn, then it will be the Danish Gambit. But Andrew says, you know what? I'm the one doing the gambits around here, not you. Plays pawn d3, bishop takes, bishop c5, pawn e5, a little too aggressive for my taste. d6, e takes, queen takes. Now black is definitely looking good in my opinion, as they have 3 pieces out, and well, white has no pawns in the center anymore. So already I'm liking Mr. Smith's position. Castles, knight f6, pawn to b4, bishop b6, pawn to a4, and pawn a6. Now, yeah, you got to be very careful here. Actually, I believe in this position that Alfredo was with the black pieces, not with the white pieces. Andrew is playing with white pieces. Bishop a3, a very nice move here, stopping castling. It's already a +1 position because, well, if you castle, well, then I can just play pawn b5 here, and there's a double attack on the queen, bishop, and even the rook over here. So, of course, no castles happens after this. Knight to d8, interesting move. Queen e2 check, knight e6. Knight d2, castles happens now. Knight c4, knight to f4. It looks like you're winning a piece here, but, well, we just have knight takes, 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 and pawn takes. Now white definitely has an advantage, as this pawn is isolated over here. All right, a5 gets played, bishop a7, rook d1, and with good technique here, Mr. Smith is able to win this game. The end game is actually very cool. That's why I wanted to show the game. Bishop back to b2, bishop e6, knight d4, rook c8, bishop f3, knight takes, bishop takes, and here he gives the pawn so we can win it right back. Bishop takes and bishop c4. Here, rook to e1, bishop to b8, knight c6 here. A nice idea, getting rid of the bishop so that we can take on d6. So yes, Mr. Smith is playing with the white pieces. Bishop b5, takes, takes, rook takes on d6, winning the pawn back. And now you see that the rook cannot take because of the back rank checkmate over here. So g6 got played, and now he just takes another pawn. This rook and pawn endgame was actually pretty interesting. I thought it was a draw, and the computer is agreeing with me here, just because the black rooks can become very active. Unfortunately, Alfredo does make a mistake in this endgame. h3, rook behind passed pawn, makes sense to me. Here I think maybe rook a1 might have been a better try. It's hard to say because, well, these rooks are going to double up over here. So, yeah, if with proper play, this should have been that draw. Rook a4, rook e7. Mr. Smith says, I'm going to double my rooks up first. Rook f4, very nice move. Not only attacking, but defending. And this is exactly how you're supposed to play this. So check, king g7, a6. Rook check, king over to h2. Rook takes f2. Again, this is still a draw. a7, and here the rook must go to a2 to stop the pawn from queening. Unfortunately, Alfredo makes the mistake and plays rook c2 here. And, well, it's white to move and win. Can you figure out what you're supposed to do here? Yeah, hopefully this wasn't too hard for you guys. Here we go, rook g8 check, king takes, queen. And now the queen's actually defending the g2 square. I'm not sure if this is what Alfredo missed. But again, all you had to do was just put your rook on a2 to stop this following combination. And the game was going to be even. And now good technique here. It does take a little while, but this is a winning position. King g6, queen e4. Queen d5, attacking on f7 ideas. Rook over. I think here you can play... Nope, I was thinking you could play rook takes f7 check, but I guess this one does not work. If the rook takes, then you do have queen takes d2. With that being said, the king can just run to... Wow, look at that. The only good move here is g8. And, yeah, here the queen goes to b7. And now the rook can take on f7. Wow, what an amazing move here. To put yourself to get into a discovery was the only way to do it. Oof. So, queen e5 check, king over. Queen e4, just defending. Of course, if these rooks just straight for the queen, we're just going to be up a rook. h4, trying to create some more progress with the pawn over here. Alfredo did a very good job by keep making threats. Here, the trade of rooks will definitely help out for the white side. King h3, rook over. Queen e3 check. The final position is actually quite nice here, but you can see here he's just slowly kicking him back, and this is where it just becomes very bad because the pawns are actually helping out with the checkmating ideas. The rook went to e4, rook to f3 check, king to g2. Again, the queen is guarding this, so there's no problem about perpetuals here. Pawn to f5, and here we go. g5 check, king h5, rook e7 to threaten rook takes h7 checkmate. Rook f4 only move. Rook takes h7 check, king g4, and here a really cool idea. Force checkmate after queen e3 here. Here there's really just no good way to stop the queen g3 from coming in. Here he played rook f3, and now, well, force mate in 2 here. Push pause. Can you see the idea here? I hope he pushed pause. Hope he tried to figure this one out. Check this out. A beautiful zugzwang idea. Queen to e2, and there's nothing to do here. The rooks can't move. The king can't move. So yeah, you have to play something like you have to move. You basically have to move this rook, and once this rook moves, it's just going to be checkmate. What a beautiful final position. All right, on for the next one. Here we go. We have Marty versus Tanvi. And Tanvi did a really good game here. Unfortunately, she was not up to the task of the end game. So here we start off with e4, c5, knight f3, g6, d4, c takes, queen takes. An interesting move by Marty here to mix things up. I like to play this queen takes d4 variation every once in a while. Knight f6, c5, knight c6, queen a4, knight d5, this is main line. Bishop d2, this is not main line. Typically, queen e4 gets played back here, and the variations go on for quite a bit longer. Bishop d2, bishop g7, pawn c4, knight b6. Here, black just gets a great game by harassing the queen, and this e5 pawn is hanging over here. Queen to b5, trying to hold on to the pawn. This is just terrible because, well, it's just going to get kicked back. And not only do you lose the pawn, but you also lose the momentum from all the free moves you get. a6, queen c5, castles. Already it's -2 here. Knight c3, d6. Interesting move here, and definitely the top move here, because after takes, well, all you did was open up a file toward this king. -3. Queen to g5, check. Of course, Marty's trying to trade queens here. King to d1, bishop b6. You definitely don't want to allow the queen trade here, as the king is just at it. So here, bishop f6 is to be recommended next time. I can't wait to talk to Tanvi and say, don't trade queens whenever you're attacking. Here, Marty must have been so excited to go ahead and trade. Mind you, black is still winning here because look at this great piece play. Unfortunately, here she just was not able to find the breakthrough. Here, the c4 pawn's hanging, so Marty goes ahead and plays b3. And what do you play here? Without a doubt, d5. Let's open up this position. These rooks are just looking at this. I can't believe she was not able to win this position. This position just looks crushing. This is a -7, saying, well, you're basically just up an extra queen here. All right. Pawn c5 got played. Knight to d7. Knight to g5 here. Trying to look for some more trades. Knight takes on c5. Knight takes. Marty is a notorious pawn grabber. So it's very amazing that here he was able just to give back a pawn. Rook takes on e6. Well, that's pretty interesting. Here my instinct is definitely to play pawn takes. But rook takes e6 is the top move here. All right. Rook c1 got played. Knight to e4. Knight takes. Pawn takes. And king e1. Here Marty's king is able to now escape to this nice e-file here. And well, I like ideas like f5, maybe f4 in the future, and doubling up the rooks. But, you know, he does got the bishop pair here, and I can't believe he was able to fight back from this position. Knight e5, rook c7, pawn to b5. This pawn is not really too much of of anything I should worry about. I would think rook e d6 looks pretty good to me. With this checking idea, I actually don't see a good response to this. What do they play here? Gosh. Yeah, I don't see anything good with this. With this, the computer's giving bishop g5, but rook d1 check looks pretty decent to me. Even pawn f6 as they're suggesting. But once the rook gets the d1 check, the bishop really never gets out because the rook will be hanging. Oof. Well, b5 got played. Bishop e2. Now the bishop's able to get out. And rook to d6. Now there is no more rook d1 check. Bishop e3. Knight check. And Marty's very happy because trades are only going to be good for him. And pawn takes here is actually the wrong way to go because you're actually blocking yourself. Here the king is just going to block. And they say the best blockaders is the kings. King d2. Pawn to b4. Rook over to c1, bishop c3 check. Well, she is winning it at this point. King d1, rook e8. And, well, Marty will have no choice here, so he does it right away. Snack attack over here. With good technique, this is just winning. I'm really curious to see where the blunder is. Pawn a5, king d2. Rook to d8, rook c4. Rook a8, interesting idea. Bishop d4, looks like the other pawn will be falling now. Rook a6. King takes, pawn a4, and of course, we don't want to make trades here as the rooks just become stronger. Now white is actually in a winning position after pawn b4. Amazing how when you have more experience, even though you're up the exchange, or maybe even down a few pawns here, you can still win your chess game with just experience and a better strategic understanding. Rook d6, pawn b5, rook c4. Yeah, these pawns are just going to run. Rook b4, rook goes behind past pawn. Rook over to b8, king c4. Bishop e3. Ooh, beautiful play here by Marty for strategy. I don't think I've ever said that ever before. Rook d8 check, king c2. Here the king's going to run over and grab the a pawn most likely. Yep, rook a5. And now the passed pawn will get pushed again pretty soon. We most likely will have to play the bishop to f4 to get control over b8. Nope, looks like Marty just takes the pawn right away. And takes. King over to b3. And here the idea is very simple. We have two connected passed pawns that we're just going to be pushing forward here all the way. Here we go. f6, a4, king b4. Yeah, these pawns are just running down the board, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Oh, very tough game. Sorry about that. It was a very nice game before that. All right, now we have Anderson Greg versus Tanvi over here. And, well, Tanvi does a pretty good game here. It says that it was marked a draw, but I believe that Tanvi was able to win this game. Here we go. e4, c5, knight f3, g6, d4, c takes, knight takes, bishop g7, bishop e3, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6. It looks like Tanvi likes to play the accelerated dragon. Queen d2, d5. Here, this actually is a mistake. You're not supposed to play b5 right away because, well, looks like Greg knows what to do. Bishop to b5 punishes him. Typically, if you could play d5 in these accelerated dragons, you're equal, if not better. Just make sure you castle before doing this. All right, castles happen now. Knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes. Rook to b8, castles. Now, well, you are down a pawn, but this is actually a pretty good position here for black because you have good compensation off the b file. D takes, rook to d1. I'm not sure why Greg chose this move. Yeah, here just trading, and I would definitely try to defend the b2 pawn if possible. Yeah, rook d1 here is just queen takes, rook takes, rook takes. So now Tommy got her pawn back, but also the rook is actually very well placed on the second rank. Bishop takes on a7. Be careful. You can see that this knight can be hanging in some variations. And there you go, knight g4. Knight takes, rook takes, bishop c5, and knight to f6 here. Bishop takes on e7, knight takes on e4. Bishop takes, rook e8. Here you can see that, well, although this is two undefended pieces, there is a way out of this. Rook to d8, takes, and bishop a6. You know, I believe this actually was not Tommy playing. It was another player. Which, let me see if I have him on the roster. I think it was Greg, but I think this was Greg versus Bruce Lebowski. I'm not too sure. I'll have to check on that later for you guys. So rook b1 got played. There's an extra pawn, so we're just going to try and push it, right? Passed pawns must be pushed. Bishop c4, f4, f5, bishop d3, takes. Don't allow your opponent to get the rook behind the pawn. Hopefully Greg learned the lesson here. Rook to d2, rook b3. And you can see, although the pawn's defended, well, it's really hard to push it forward because the rook is behind it. So bishop d4 check, king f1, check. The game now swings to the other side. King e1, takes, rook b8, king g7, check, king g8, h4, rook h2, rook over, king f7. Nice idea here. It looks like a drawish position now. But here, king e8, playing for the win. Bishop g5, bishop check, takes, and, well, I think there was an idea here. Bishop to g3. And now, well, this says that it was the last move, and that's why I think that this was actually a win. Or maybe this was a draw. But here, well, it's black. I'm sorry, white to move and win. Do you see what you're supposed to do here? Simple chess. The bishop's actually trapped here. All you'd have to do is play rook takes, bishop takes, and then king g2. That's why I'm thinking that this was definitely a win here for white. But it was marked down as a draw. All right, for our last game, let's go ahead and do it. It was my final round. I played against Alfredo Garcia. And this one was a very interesting game. Actually, a miniature over here. So let's take a look. E4, E6. I was very tired after my previous game. I played against Doug Huddleston, and that was a 70-move game. We played a good 4 hours of the game, so I was very tired. So here I just played the French defense. I was like, you come to me, and then I'll just defend, and I'll find out where you were correct. D4, D5, knight C3, knight F6, E5, knight F to D7, queen G4. This is actually a very interesting move I haven't seen in a long time. This one is called the Glenhill attack. I actually remember playing this as a kid, but I don't remember playing it anytime recently. Here, computers already giving this as better as black. I played pawn e6 here for some very bad reason. Again, I think I was just fatigued and not playing and just not calculating correctly. Here, of course, you should just play pawn c5 here. And I got worried about knight b5 here for some reason, but there's really nothing to worry about at this point. I calculated c takes d6, knight d6 check, and here I just miscalculated after bishop takes. I thought queen takes was a move, but here bishop takes e5 is just, keeping the game. With that being said, I played a6 and actually got into a losing position. White to move. Thankful for me, Alfredo did miss this move. White to move and win. What do you play here? It's not a forced win, but you are going to be winning some good material here. Believe it or not, you just play bishop g5, and, well, I have no better move than to play like h5 here, which is what I was calculating. Of course, if you play bishop b7, bishop takes, queen takes, rook f8, queen takes, 2 extra pawns up, and I wasn't sure what my composition was going to be. So, yeah, this is a position that he could have got to. Fortunately, for me, he just played too fast. He played knight f3. All right, pawn c5, bishop e3, knight c6, castles, pawn b5. Yeah, here I was just like, I'm going to play a typical French that makes me upset. I'm just going to push all my pawns and not develop my pieces, which is something I hate to do, but I tried it this game, and it worked out very nicely. Knight g5, bishop b7, pawn to f4, b4, knight e2, g6. Here I was a little bit intimidated by the pawn f5 idea, so I just went ahead and played g6 right away. g3, queen a5, king b1, c4. Now it's definitely looking at c3 ideas and hopefully getting the queen over here. I did realize, though, the bishop can come to c1, so this idea was not going to be working anytime soon. Bishop h3 here. He definitely wants to play knight takes e6 and go for a sacrifice, which I don't believe was really winning, but why let your opponent do any ideas? Pawn h5, kicking the queen and allowing me more time to attack. Queen f3, pawn b3, c takes, a takes, and knight to b4. Here I was able to open up over here on the queen side where the king is, although the problem here is I don't have enough pieces for the attack. That being said, there is only one line here to defend, and, well, he did a very good job by defending. He just misses one move, and then it's game over. Knight c3 to defend the a2 square. I played rook c8 with the idea of rook takes c3. All right, white's turn. What do you play here to defend this position? Here, Alfredo chose the wrong move and got, well, checkmated or got to a losing position very fast. What do you play here to get to the good position? Here, knight a4 was played, and the game was lost pretty fast. Here, rook d2 was the move. A very nice idea, combating rook takes c3, b takes, because now the rook is just guarding the a2 square. So, knight a4, knight b6, rook c1, and here I just was able to crush through. Knight takes, rook takes, bishop takes, and queen g2. Here there's lots of ways to win in this position. And, well, you could definitely look down these queen a2 variations, which is what the computer's recommending. With that being said, I just wanted more pieces in here. And I didn't really see how he can actually guard from these ideas. So I just played bishop d7. My plan was really simple. I'm just going to develop my pieces and then attack. His pieces really can't move anywhere. If they do start moving, then they get into trouble here. And here, well, he just plunders and won. He played rook d1. I was like, oh, well, thanks. That's nice. Queen takes d1 check with a checkmate in 4. King. At this point, he went ahead and resigned. But here, the checkmate would have been bishop c1, queen d3 check. And if king to a1, well, now you have queen c4, b3, checkmate. I'm not sure if I would have figured out the whole checkmate, but I definitely believe I would have won the game. All right, guys. I hope you guys like the recap for this Labor Day tournament in 2022. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.